To Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. So, closing messages right now, closing arguments by the candidates. You have Vice President Kamala Harris laying out a detailed economic agenda for the middle class. Today, she rolled out an agenda for the Latino community, talking about business tax credits, talking about investments within the community, other very tangible things. Donald Trump, on the other hand, what's he talking about? Schlongs. He's actually going on stage, continuing to talk about penises over and over again, and it's bizarre and it's frightening, And he did this earlier in the week. He was bemoaning that Harvey Weinstein was schlonged, and he goes, "Harvey Weinstein, man, he got schlonged." And then in a recent speech that he gave, he spent 15, 20 minutes talking about Arnold Palmer. By the way, Arnold Palmer never liked Donald Trump. His daughter's been going on TV confirming that Arnold Palmer thought that Donald Trump was kind of gross, and he thought that Donald Trump was crude and didn't treat people well. But here's just Donald Trump. Part of his closing message is that when Arnold Palmer went into the locker room, lots of other men would go, "Wow, he's got a really big penis, that Arnold Palmer." Here, play this clip.
Old man. This man was strong and tough. And I refuse to say it, but when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, "Oh my God, that's unbelievable." I had to say it. We have women that are highly sophisticated here, but they used to look at Arnold as a bad, but he was.
Your reaction?
It's fun for the whole family. I mean, it's a family outing. Nothing says idiot like taking your children to a Trump rally to listen to him talk about Arnold Palmer, who right now, by the way, happens to be deceased for almost 10 years, a legend in golf. Nothing says I'm an idiot more than somebody talking about a deceased guy's genitalia. I mean, I have so much respect for the daughter, because so many people would just turn around and say, "You know what? I don't even want to touch this." First of all, you're talking about the father's penis and his penis size. And I mean, I can't believe that we're even been engaging in this type of a conversation. I really can't. But nothing says, "Hey, it's fun for the whole family." And what about the laughter, Ben? I want to throw a question to you.
Yeah.
Are you not as offended as I am about the laughter from the people that are there in the crowd? I wouldn't be laughing. There's nothing funny about this type of conversation, this communication. When you're there to learn about a candidate and their policy, entertain me if you will. But is this really the route that we're going to go down? I'm so nauseated from him and this whole fascination with penis size.
Our founders warned us about the demagogues and their ability to sway the masses with, all of this stuff. Jeremy, our producer, put up on the screen there for a split second, and you may have caught it, what Politico is writing about. And Politico said that Donald Trump won the day. They do a daily horse race of who's winning. And they say Donald Trump won the day as 2024 becomes the genitalia campaign and size matters. And because of Donald Trump doing that, and also going to a closed McDonald's that's been the site of protests for working conditions, and Donald Trump pretended to serve his supporters who were acting as though they were customers. Politico said that was a very big and important day for Donald Trump. And yes, I am livid that and I'm saddened that there are so many Americans who will go to an event like that and like that, because it's so misogynistic, it's so bizarre, and we're all trying to figure out in this complex world how we can all be good citizens and try to work together to improve things, right? And they're out there laughing about genitals and laughing as Donald Trump lies about FEMA. And Donald Trump says that, FEMA is actually giving their money to migrants, which is actually preventing people in hurricane disaster areas from getting the relief that they need, because Trump is saying that they're not entitled to the relief when they are, and they should be getting it. Donald Trump goes to North Carolina for a publicity stunt where, I'm not sure if you saw this, Cohen, he was awarded with like
he was awarded with a fry pin from for this idiot that's standing camera right. It's a special pin where he also gave him some sort of an award, a French fry certification pin, where he has mastered the art of French frying. And I can't believe it. And he pulls out the pin and he's accepting it with high praise and honor. It's kind of like getting a degree from Trump University and then hanging it up in your office and showing it off. Hey, you want to see what I got? Yeah, Trump University, right? And so, by the way, I have a few of the blank ones. If you want one for your office, Ben, more than happy to fill it out, your certificate of achievement. It's like the Gaylord Fokker Achievement Award. I mean, it's not even laughable anymore. This would be freaking hysterical if it was on Saturday Night Live, which it was, but it's not. This clown puts on an apron and all of a sudden he's a McDonald's employee, right? I mean, if just because he puts on a spacesuit doesn't make him an astronaut, just because he puts on a stethoscope doesn't make him into a doctor, just because, he turns around and he has a gavel on his desk doesn't make him a judge. So all of a sudden now this guy stands there and he's watching another guy lower the frozen French fries into the Purolator machine, push a button, the timer, and now all of a sudden we're going to honor the next president of the United States, Donald Trump, with a fry certification pin. Mazel. I am certain that his mom and his dad, who are no longer with us for many years, must be in heaven elated at this prestigious honor and award that he has now been bestowed with.
Well, let's just talk about what we just mentioned of things that have happened in the past few days, right? The McDonald's stunt, going to a closed McDonald's, pretending that he's serving customers, but he's actually there serving supporters, talking about people's penises over and over again at his campaign speech, and saying that when you go to the locker room and you saw his genitals, wow, were they big? Him going to North Carolina, receiving an award for serving people French fries. When you look at the photo there, Michael Cohen and Beatdown Brigaders, you see he's in Asheville. He's in a disaster zone that was ravaged, where people are suffering, and he's out there making it about himself, accepting a French fry pin, by the way, which I think is actually given to McDonald's workers who work there for 5 years. So it's like a version of like stolen achievement of the actual hardworking McDonald's workers. Whereas Donald Trump also has prevented the rise of the minimum wage as well as the owner of that place. And then in addition in this, oh, by the way, when he was in North Carolina, he shut down the highways. So people who needed to get medical supplies in this post-emergency period, who needed to see family members, they were prevented from getting to where they were supposed to go. And this went crazy viral on Reddit. We did a story about it early in the morning where we shared the story of Donald Trump actually torturing people. He's torturing people in a disaster zone by engaging in these types of stunts. And then in one of his speeches, when he's asked a question about fracking, right? And he's supposed to give details. What he does is he starts quacking like a duck because the word frack sounds like the word quack. So he goes frack, 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 like a duck, frack, 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 and just watch him. But when you watch this, notice, and if you've ever been around dementia patients, one of the things you'll notice is they may be talking and then all of a sudden they'll go like that, right? Like that's one of the characteristics where there's no control over the behavior. So you may be speaking to someone, and I'm sure if you have someone in your life who suffered from dementia, you know this. They'll just be like, hey, Ben, how are you? Run, 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 run. And they'll be like, okay, it's okay. It's okay. That's what Donald Trump presents with right now. Let me show you an example where he starts quacking using the word fracking. Play the clip.
So we're going to let him frack, frack, frack like a duck. Frack, frack, frack.
Well, I think what he was trying to do is he was channeling his inner Hamburglar, right? Robber, 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 robber. And it's comical. Come on, folks. This is the point I was trying to ask you before, Ben. I'm going to ask it again. And I ask it to all our brigaders because I don't know the answer. And I'm desperate to find out the answer. You have all these people that are standing in the back. And I get it. When you walk in, you get a placard and you're going to take it home and show your friends how MAGA stupid you really are. But when he starts quacking or fracking like a duck, they start laughing and cheering for him. He talks about Arnold Palmer's penis, and they're going crazy about it, laughing, giggling, holding up the placards, yelling, and clapping. And the next thing you know, when he's on the stage and he just decides that he doesn't want to talk anymore, let's listen to music. So the orange fucking Cheeto goes like this, and they start applauding him as if moving your hands is a great feat. That what did he do? Did he just, cure cancer with his hands? Did he solve the hunger problem throughout the world by now going to the opposite direction? But was it Wax On, Wax Off by Ralph Macchio? And they're applauding, they're clapping, they're going crazy for it. They're eating this stuff up alive, and I can't figure out why. What is it that you find so entertaining about this level of stupidity? And if you want to laugh at stupid, right? Let's just say that that's what makes you laugh. No problem. I've been to many comedy clubs. I didn't find the comedic, genius of the individual. It was more stupid, but you do giggle and you do laugh a little bit from it because it's so ridiculous and stupid. Do you want that guy to be the president of the United States of America? Is that really who you want to represent us before foreign dignitaries? I mean, what the hell are we thinking about? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me at all, the appeal, and why, for whatever this reason may be, that they are so knee deep into this cult that they can't see just how ridiculous these rallies have become.
Well, look, this has actually been a historical issue, not just in America. When our framers were creating the Republican form of government, they had always identified this. And you go back to philosophers in ancient Greece and, human beings, animals, and there is a herd nature that sometimes can't be explained with logic. And we've tried through building institutions to curb the greatest vices of humanity and to create progress. But demagogues have always tried to pull people back to their base instincts. I mean, George Mason, one of the framers, declared that the mischievous influence of demagogues was one of the top evils that can befall Republican forms of government. And if you go and read Hamilton's writings, and others, they talk exactly of the threat of a Donald Trump emerging in a government by the people, for the people, who prey on people, and where you have, though, here some unique things taking place as well. One, the entire Republican Party has given all of their agency to Donald Trump, right? One of the gatekeepers is supposed to be a responsible adult political party that pushes back against this. Kevin McCarthy had the opportunity to do that. Mitch McConnell had the opportunity to do that. They refused to convict Donald Trump, which would have put an end to it after the impeachment. They had the opportunity. Kevin McCarthy ran to Mar-a-Lago, begged Donald Trump, for support, and then Donald Trump, continued to be the leader. That was a pivotal moment. Number two, the way corporate media both sides the issues. I'm in Los Angeles right now. Did you know, Michael Cohen, that the LA Times, the Los Angeles Times, is not endorsing anybody this year? I could go and tell you about numerous other media outlets. In LA, they're refusing to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. Why? It is owned by a billionaire who is a Trump supporter. And our corporate, and I'm just giving you the LA Times as an example.
I mean, look, we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing Elon Musk pushing the laws right to the line. You know how many times, Ben, you and I have had this conversation about about two different sets of laws. In fact, I always say that there's three. There's the law that all of us have to follow. And then there's the law for the billionaire class and the we'll call it the corrupt politician class. They fall into the same. And then there's a law that Donald Trump just seems to have for himself and himself only, where nothing seems to stick, despite the fact that I spent, I don't know, it was close to 50 hours on the stand between the Manhattan District Attorney, the criminal case that resulted in 34 convictions, criminal guilty convictions, and then the New York Attorney General civil case that resulted in over $500 million. Not a bad picture, by the way. In over $500 million. Where's the accountability? I know that we haven't collected that money yet for the state of New York. I know that Trump hasn't been sentenced yet. Sentencing is sometime November, like 23rd or 24th or something like that. Elon Musk is pressing the line. He's running right up to the line, dangling over it, pulling back, dangling over it with this $1 million giveaway. It's not paying anybody, but there's got to be a lotto. And if it's not a lottery, then it's also, you have to then register, and you got to show him that you registered, and you got to register it through his site. All he's doing is accumulating your private data. This is actually illegal according to FEC attorneys. But what the hell do I know at this point in time? All I know is that based upon like what you're saying, I believe, for example, that my formerly Twitter account is being shadow banned. When I have 650,000 or so followers on it, and you put out something which in the past has gotten 1 million views or likes or whatever, and now they get like 2,000. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm being shadow banned.
Let's talk about your case for a minute, because even though it's your case, the Supreme Court rejected your appeal, which is called certiorari, for them to hear the case. And I want you to remind people what the case was about. But sure, you were the plaintiff. But as you and I have talked about before, it was more than just what happened to you.
We are
personally.
all, every brigader, every American, Republican, Democrat, Independent, was the plaintiff. Yeah, I may have been the named plaintiff. Think about it like a class action. It would be Michael Cohen and others similarly situated et al., right? Which means everybody would benefit from it. Think about like the case of Roe versus Wade. It wasn't just one person who had the benefit. It was all women, right? That's what my case was. My case was suing the United States of America, Trump, Bill Barr, the DOJ, for unconstitutionally remanding me back to prison, putting me back into solitary confinement, which brought it up to 51 days of solitary, because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right, that I refused to agree not to print and publish a book, my first book, which was called Disloyal, my refusal to not engage with media and talk about the book, whether it be print media or television media, my refusal to sign off that I would advise family and friends that they too should refrain from talking about this book and all of it. Why? Because it was critical of Donald J. Trump. In fact, Alvin K. Hellerstein, federal judge Hellerstein, who's on the bench like 25, 30 years, turned around and wrote in his order, which granted my preliminary injunction, my writ of habeas corpus. That's how I ended up getting out of prison. He turned around and he said that the court finds that respondents again is USA, Trump, Bill Barr, and others, their purpose in transferring Cohen from release on furlough and home confinement back to custody was retaliatory in response to Cohen desiring to exercise his First Amendment rights to publish a book critical of the president and to discuss the book on social media. As bad as this language is, it's the fifth line down that is the most egregious of them all. Accordingly, respondents are hereby enjoined from any continuing or future retaliation against Cohen for exercising his First Amendment rights. Can you imagine, Ben, can you imagine that a federal court judge has to warn the United States of America, the Attorney General, the President of the United States, that they are enjoined from violating a U.S. citizen's First Amendment constitutional right? Really?
So here's what I want to say, and then I want to talk about it when we get back from the break. So I want to break this down for everybody. So you all heard that a federal judge made a finding that Michael Cohen suffered this injury based on a serious injury. He was thrown into solitary confinement for over a month, almost 2 months, with his constitutional rights being violated by Donald Trump and Bill Barr. A federal judge made the ruling that Cohen was injured. If you want to think about this in the context of other cases, a crude but basic example was a car accident case where you then sue, right? The car accident happened. There's liability, right? Cohen proved the facts that he was injured by the crimes, and a judge recognized it. So then Cohen went to the next step. The next step was everybody, a crime's been convicted. Here are the facts where a judge has found that. Now I am suing because I was injured. And that's where the federal court said, too bad, so sad. Sure, you may, after being there for almost 60 days, be let out because of this extraordinary writ that you had to file. However, there's no remedy because we can't find in the Constitution any form of relief here unless MAGA Mike Johnson and the House of Representatives affirmatively passes a law specific to Michael Cohen's situation. Michael Cohen's argument was, but look, Supreme Court, that's never going to happen. MAGA Mike Johnson isn't going to pass the specific Michael Cohen law for these situations. I was injured by the acts of the government. And what the Supreme Court doctrine is, and this is different than absolute presidential immunity, but another pillar, as I like to call it, absolute presidential immunity is the Supreme Court saying Donald Trump can be a king and get away with it. This type of immunity is the kingdom, that America's not a democracy, it's a monarchy, and you can't sue the government if you're in situations like Michael Cohen, unless the government specifically by a law agrees to be sued. To which Cohen argues they're never going to agree to be sued. It's MAGA Mike Johnson. To which the right-wing Supreme Court says, too bad, so sad. We got to take our quick first break.
Here's what the whole purpose was. It was not just about me. It was to make sure that they never, ever, ever do what they did to me. They made me into the first and the only, as of today, the only political prisoner held by my own country because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. I am the one and only. And I was fighting, I fought like a dog in order to make sure that it never happens to any other American ever again, Republican, Democrat, or Independent. And they refused to even hear the case. They refused to hear it despite all of the evidence, despite all of the top constitutional attorneys in America saying to the Supreme Court in what's called an amicus brief. That's a brief from people that they call friends of the topic. You cannot ignore this. Now we have, in essence, a king instead of a president.
That's the right-wing Supreme Court for you, and that's what is at stake. Michael Cohen, also what's at stake. When we get back, a new article from The Atlantic just dropped moments before we went live that Trump, when he was in office, volunteered to pay for the funeral of a murdered soldier. But when the bill came, he became angry. It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a effing Mexican, Donald Trump said, according to this article. He turned to his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and issued an order. Don't pay it. In the article as well, Trump said he needs generals like Hitler. And that's the second most newsy piece of this article. To put things in perspective, we'll be right back after our first quick break of the show.
It's hot outside, and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend that you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA, and they use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. And you know what? They feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some five-star hotels. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature, again, all night long, no matter the weather, so that you get better sleep every single night. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7%. Get a look, 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. So there's no more gross odors too. Go to trymiracle.com/beat to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code BEAT, B-E-A-T, at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save, get a load of this, an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Now upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made and go to trymiracle.com/beat and use the code BEAT to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/beat to treat yourself. And thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Just accept irritation as a normal part of shaving. Henson Shaving asked that question, and they didn't like the answer. So you know what they did? They decided to do something about it. They brought aerospace precision to the world of shaving. Their razors are manufactured in the same shop that made parts for a Mars rover and the International Space Station.
That level of precision, it translates to a gentler shave for your skin. So it's not about gimmicks or moisturizing strips. It's about fundamentally changing how a razor interacts with your skin. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that'll last you a lifetime. So visit hensonshaving.com/beat to pick the razor for you and use code BEAT and you'll get 2 years. Listen, 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. So just make sure to add them to your cart. That's 100 free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com. That's hensonshaving.com/beat and use code BEAT.
A bombshell story just breaking right now, and it is making waves, Michael Cohen. This is from The Atlantic, that Trump volunteered to pay for the funeral of a murdered soldier. But when the bill came, he became angry. Donald Trump said it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a effing Mexican. He turned to his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and issued an order. Don't pay it. In the same article, it was also reported that Donald Trump said, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. Now, Donald Trump is denying this. Mark Meadows is denying this. But let's face it, Donald Trump's out there saying these things in public right now. You know, I don't know why when these things are uncovered in private, they're treated with greater shock and audacity than when he says these things in public. But he's been talking about the 1798 Alien Enemies Act in his speeches. He talks about the enemies from within. He talks about eugenics and genes, and I'm going to get rid of the people with bad genes. He talks about people with bad genes poisoning the blood, and that he's going to have a mass bloody deportation event on the first day and round up people on the basis of ancestry. And that's not just people who are undocumented. That is people he identifies as, related to them. If you are here lawfully, like the Haitian migrants who are here lawfully, Donald Trump says that they're here illegally. He says they're prisoners, and he'll round them up and he'll send the Haitians to Venezuela, he says. And then he says, don't think if you're just a white Christian male, he ain't coming for you. He's coming for you too. He says he's going to come for Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. You are the enemy from within if he doesn't support you. So, Cohen, I guess let's stick to this story first. Donald Trump saying, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had, according to The Atlantic, and saying, I'm not burying that effing Mexican for $60,000. Do not pay the bill. What's your reaction to the story, Michael Cohen?
Well, is anybody questioning whether or not you think that Donald would renege on a bill? Is anybody forgetting about the fact that he buried Ivana, his first wife, in the swampland area of his golf course, where not only did it not cost him $60,000 to bury a body, but rather he got a tax break from it. So the notion that he's going to pay $60,000 for a fucking Mexican, despite the fact that this guy is a soldier and a hero, yeah, that's irrelevant. He's already thinking, why should I pay anything? He paid nothing to bury his own wife, ex-wife, the mother of his top 3 kids. Why should he pay for somebody who lost their life, a service member? I mean, serious. And the fact that people are even questioning whether or not the veracity of this story, shame on them. Let us all call this man out for who and what he is. He is a disgraceful, divisive, disgusting, grotesque human being. All right, plain and simple. And, I get a lot of people who are saying to me now, as a result of the Supreme Court refusing that I could have my day in court and I could prove my case that Trump and Bill Barr, they weaponize the Department of Justice. Make sure this never happens to any one of you or anyone you know or any other journalist or individual that, for whatever the reason, is deemed to be a critic of Donald Trump. Don't say sorry to me. Don't say sorry to me. That's not what I want to hear. I'll tell you what I want to hear. I want to hear that you're going to help me. And the only way that you can do it is to ensure that Donald Trump is held accountable, both civilly, which I've already gotten him on, 500 million, I was the key witness, and the 34 guilty counts by the Manhattan DA. So I'm asking everybody to make sure that you go to vote.org. Make sure that you are registered to vote. And if you're not sure that you're going to be able to make it to the ballot, to your ballot station, wherever you would go, you have a couple of days left in order to order your ballots to your home so you could do mail-in voting. Vote, vote, vote. The only way that there will ever be accountability is to vote. And we need to vote not just this piece of shit, because he's not in office. Make sure he never comes near Washington again. But all of these pieces of shit that are currently holding, whether it's members of Congress, Senate, city council members, mayors, governors, makes no difference. They all need to go. You see, I'm a firm believer that discourse is good for the country. You and I may not agree on a social issue. You and I may not agree on an economic issue. You and I may not agree exactly on the immigration or the Affordable Care Act or anything else, the CHIPS Act, the chips, dips, chains, whips. It makes no difference. We may not agree on things, but we can have a conversation about it and we can discuss it. We could be on opposite sides, but we can still have an open and a fair and a legitimate and a respectful dialogue with one another. And you're right, by the way, Marianne, when I see Mexicans for Trump, when I see LGBTQ plus community for Trump, blacks for Trump, Jews for Trump, anybody for Trump, it pisses me off so much. Haitians for Trump. I saw that sign somewhere when I was reading an article. And I'm saying to myself, seriously? Seriously? What's wrong with you? The man wouldn't cross the street to piss on you if you were on fire, because that would mean he'd have to do something for somebody else. And I don't know how many more times I could possibly say the same thing. We must all band together. And we must be the community that we are and ensure that November 5th goes exactly the way that we need it to go. And that is Harris Walz 2024.
Well, take a look at this. I want to go over some of the points you made there, because it is one of the more ghoulish things, the imagery of Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana, when we see Eric and Ivanka out there and Don Jr., that they were okay with their mother getting this type of treatment. Again, so ghoulish. This was the exclusive that the Daily Mail got. This is the area in the back lot, in the swamp area, where Donald Trump quickly threw Ivana's body into. That's her final resting place right there. And to me, there's so many things that Donald Trump's done that's disgusting and despicable. But doesn't that image right there, pull it right up, just sum up what a disgusting human being he is? And for all of his cult followers, if that's how he's treated the mother of his children, who are his main surrogates, what do you think he thinks about you? And to this story right here, of course, this is the type of thing that he would say. We've been documenting this fearlessly at the Midas Touch Network, that Trump uses the Hitler language all of the time. And we've been saying it directly. For example, here was a graphic that we made years ago. Years ago, we had this graphic out, Michael Cohen, and we put it up here on Beatdown. Trump echoes Hitler's words on the campaign trail. Example, Hitler says, "I will get rid of the communist vermin." Trump says, "I will get rid of the communist vermin." Hitler says, "I will take care of the enemy within." Trump says, "I will take care of the threat from within." Let me update that, though. Trump says, "I will take care of the enemy within." Trump uses the direct quote now from Hitler. This graphic was made 2 years ago. Donald Trump, Hitler says, "Jews and migrants are poisoning Aryan blood." Donald Trump says, "Migrants are poisoning the blood of our country." And Donald Trump also says migrants are eating cats and dogs. And Donald Trump also says that migrants today, he said, that they're creating a supreme military, supreme weapon, bigger than all of the weapons we have to kill you, is what Donald Trump said at a Latino group that he spoke at in Doral, Florida earlier in the day. Hitler said, one people, one realm, one leader. Donald Trump goes, one people, one family, one glorious nation. Donald Trump is, in my opinion, intentionally using the rhetoric and words of Hitler over and over again. It's not just once. It is absolutely done over and over again. And there was that image from last week where you saw the supporters of Donald Trump suffering in that small Pennsylvania auditorium where they didn't have air conditioning. That's when Donald Trump started listening to music like YMCA. And in that video, you hear people go, medic, medic, we need air conditioning. Donald Trump was pissed off that the people who needed medical attention were taking the attention away from him. I'll answer your earlier question with this, Michael Cohen, and I'll give you the Hitler example, though, as well. When you say, how is it that people can sit there in the audiences and listen to this stuff and laugh at it and find it funny and humorous? Humans are an interesting species, as we've seen historically. And when you see the fact that people are capable of so much good, so much warmth, so much compassion, but in humanity's DNA is this paradox where more historical we've seen the harm that human beings can cause, the suffering that human beings can cause, and you can appeal to human beings' worst instincts. And what Donald Trump's done has appealed to the hate. Donald Trump is like a drug that people get addicted to, and they feel that they're in on it and that they're mocking other people, and they feel tough and powerful until they come for you, inevitably, is what the authoritarian does. Want to talk about that and more? This has been a deep, deep episode. Let's take our last quick break of the show, eh?
No man wants to lose his hair, but for men, it's actually very common. And now, with Hims, the solution is simple. Try Hims Hair Loss Solutions, and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who got their flow back. I mean, Hims provides access to a range of hair loss treatments that work, all from the comfort of your couch. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted treatment options and clinically proven ingredients like finasteride or minoxidil that can help to regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months. They offer personalized chewable, oral spray, and serum treatment options so you can find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online. Just answer a few questions, and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. And if prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to your door. Hims has hundreds and thousands of trusted subscribers. So if you feel like you're losing a part of yourself with your hair loss, just get Hims and get your confidence back. So start your free online visit today at hims.com/beat. That's HIMS.com/beat for your personalized hair loss treatment options. HIMS.com/beat. And results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply, and see website for full details and important safety information.
Back in action, Michael Cohen doing some great ads. The discount codes are in the description below. Michael Cohen, I want to show you.
I don't even know what to say. Yesterday, obviously, when I got the news from the Supreme Court, you can imagine the level of disappointment. I've been there before. I was there the first time when Judge Lyman here in New York turned around and said, based upon the Dobbs decision and now the effect that it has on what's called Bivens, which is the case called Bivens, Bivens, he had no choice but to dismiss the case. What he did say, though, in his order, so that we could appeal it, was that his decision will have profound violence. That's how the exact term he used, will have profound violence to mine and all Americans' constitutional rights. These are not words that the judge just willy-nilly pulled out of his ass. He thought about this long and hard. And I tell this to you because I'm nervous for the future of the country. When we can have a Supreme Court that doesn't really care about the Constitution, that are saying, as Ben accurately placed it, that he's putting it back into the hands of Congress in order for me to be able to get the justice that I deserve, in order for all Americans to be secure, that if you write a book critical of the president or one of your representatives, and who knows how far down the road it will go, that you can actually be incarcerated. You know, people don't realize solitary confinement 24/7 inside of a dirty 8x10 room where you have nothing, you have little to no food, you have no books, unless, of course, I was fortunate. People had sent them in the mail, so I was able to read some things. You have nothing. You sit there. A second feels like a minute feels like an hour feels like a day feels like a week. 51 of those. And my hope, my prayer with the Supreme Court was that they would understand the papers are so good. We spent so much time on them. The Gilbert firm out of D.C., John Michael Dougherty, Danya Perry, Norm Eisen, Lawrence Tribe even signed on. The papers were so good. And they rang right to the core of exactly what the Supreme Court is supposed to be there to do. And they let us down. They didn't just let me down. So to the maggots that want to sit there and say, ha ha, you lost, I didn't lose. We all lost. And my goal was to make sure that the pain that I live with every single second of every single day, that nobody else has to ever live with it ever again. It's why I'm out here with Ben on Political Beatdown on the Midas Touch Network. Look, I could have gone anywhere I wanted. And I don't say that, just wholeheartedly or lightly, but I chose Midas. I chose the Midas Touch Network. Why? Because we have very similar principles. Our goal is to ensure the future of America's democratic republic. And a lot of these stations, a lot of the other companies, they're willing to fly wherever the wind is blowing, wherever the ads are going. We don't care. We don't care. That's why actually we're going to be doing Patreon. It's what really helps to keep this network and this show going. Right after the show, we're going to go do our Patreon. So I ask you to join Patreon, support the show, support me in this journey, because I'm not stopping just because the Supreme Court said so. Fine. I won't get my pound of flesh. I won't get what we all need by a court of law. But you know where I'm planning on getting it? The court of public opinion. That's what's going to really count. And the public opinion come November 5th has to be emphatically and with a massive blue wave for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
It's why everybody who's here, you can actually be the difference maker in this election. You really can. You have the ability to go out right now, make sure you vote early. And let me explain to you, it is better that you vote early than on election day. Because when you vote early, your name gets removed from the get out the vote lists that are used to determine whether you're a high or low propensity voter. So money's being spent chasing you down if you wait for election day when those resources could actually go to lower propensity voters. So there are some people who are like, look, I want to make an event of it and go on election day, and that's how I show my patriotism. I would just say to that, it's actually better that you vote early, and that's how you show your patriotism.
I did.
The earlier you vote, the better. You can also go out and encourage family members, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, children, grandkids, cousins, neighbors, coworkers. And this election, to me, when we were thinking about all of this, when we were building this network, to your point, Michael Cohen, to me was actually not to build a political media network, which may sound odd because we're now one of the biggest political media networks. It wasn't so much the politics that attracted me to all of this. In fact, when we started off and I was focused so much on the politics and the horse race, I realized that's not actually what I think the greater calling is. I think it is to speak very basically about things that can bring us together, about our core humanity, and about decency, and about values, and bring evidence, and introduce you to us, and to my family, and to our brothers, and to our sisters, and to our close friends, and to this thing called Midas, which you are all a part of, and to let you into our lives. And you get to meet Cohen, you get to meet me. We open up about ourselves. We get to meet all of you, and we're in this together. And things are complicated and complex. And it's very easy when things are complicated and complex for people to be predatory, right? That's why when you think about scams that are run, what are they usually? Who's usually the target? It's usually the elderly, and it's usually people who are suffering from disasters. That's when the scammers come in the most. Usually in American politics, we didn't use natural disasters. We didn't use sickness as a political wedge issue at all. That's until Donald Trump took over the Republican Party and MAGA took over everything. And they now make hurricane relief, Hurricane Helene, and they spread the lies that we used to see two-bit con artists try to pull on people, to harm them and to be predatory about them and to do all of those things. And so it's so important that this community, we push back against it, that we speak the truth and we speak from love and compassion, and we do our best to present the evidence each and every single day. And I think that's what Vice President Kamala Harris is doing. Let me share with you, if I can. This is Vice President Kamala Harris on the campaign trail speaking about Donald Trump. Let's play it.
And now he's ducking debates and canceling interviews because of exhaustion. And when he does answer a question or speak at a rally, have you noticed he tends to go off script and ramble? And generally, for the life of him, cannot finish a thought. And he has called it the weave. But I think we here will call it nonsense.
Cohen, she's going to all the right states, all the right
saying all the right things.
All the right things. And so to me, there are people who can always go, oh, the messaging this, the messaging that. I mean, here's my view right now. There's certainly some pull and some magnetism that surrounds a wannabe dictator or authoritarian, right? I mean, Trump's messaging isn't good messaging at every level, talking about people's penises and saying quack, 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 and, rambling and going to sleep. That's not good messaging. But human nature, humanity, for whatever reason, herd mentality, has some magnetism towards giving away, the way the Republican Party did, all of your agency to an individual who promises you everything. And that's Trump's message. And that appeals to tens of millions of Americans. It's tragic, but we have to accept that's what it is. Her messaging, bringing people together, speaking about a pro-democracy community, talking about progress. She went on Fox and beat the crap out of them in enemy territory. She beat the crap out of Donald Trump at the debate. She did everything she was supposed to do. She did. And she's running a top campaign right now. So to me, that's the choice that America's presented right now. And by the way, I think the one issue with Biden, despite I think Biden he's done everything he's promised and more, quite frankly. But if you want to say, well, because he's older now and he stutters more now and he presents with older, which is complete BS because Trump is way worse, even they're basically the same age. But you can say, well, that's what right now you've got a great candidate in Kamala who's doing all the right things you're supposed to do. So that's the choice, right? It's binary. Fascism, democracy, America, it's on the ballot.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this, like every episode, somebody has to get the two-finger salute, and I have to give it to the Supreme Court. Now, of course, not all the Supreme Court members. Again, we'll never know who said yes, who said no. There is no decision on it other than no. We're not going to hear your case. We're not going to decide whether or not your case should be remanded back to the lower court for continued discovery. No, they just said they're not going to hear it. They basically have now not just neutered Bivens, which is the only way that you could bring an action against the federal government for violating a constitutional right, but they have now destroyed it. Plain and simple, because one of the factors in terms of whether or not they should take the case has to do with it required to be of the most unusual of circumstance. That's the language of Clarence Thomas. And we were really hoping that he was going to opine on what could be more unique, what could be more than the President of the United States weaponizing the Department of Justice, using a willing and complicit, bloviated asshole Attorney General, Bill Barr, to go against a critic and remanding them to prison because they refused to waive a First Amendment constitutional right. What could have fit into that definition of the most unusual circumstance than that? And I don't think that there is one. So they basically now just completely destroyed Bivens altogether. And again, the danger is not just for me. The danger is for everyone. And when you hear him talking and saying the things that he's saying, which is, I'm going after Shifty Schiff, I'm going after Nancy Pelosi, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, whoever the hell he wants. There's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of names on that list. And you know what? I don't want to be the guy who has to turn around and say, I told you so, but Supreme Court, for refusing to protect Bivens, for refusing to do your job and protect the Constitution, fuck you all. Serious. Fuck you all for denying me my day in court. And another thing that I just want to say, I truly appreciate where we're getting to the 250,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, Ben. It's really going great. If you haven't already checked it out, go over to YouTube, check out The Michael Cohen Show, subscribe, and if you can, do me a favor, tell your friends to subscribe too, because you get more raw, unfiltered stories just like this. We talk about news of the day that is pertinent and that is groundbreaking and literally just a lot of fun. So again, if you have a chance, YouTube, The Michael Cohen Show, and please also check out, subscribe to, and tell your friends to listen as well to Mea Culpa. That's the one that's on Midas Touch Network here with the blue background icon. And other than that, I'm done.
There you go. Make sure you subscribe here. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel. Subscribe to the audio podcast, Mea Culpa. Subscribe to Political Beatdown. Check it out, patreon.com/Political Beatdown. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Shout out to the Midas Mighty and shout out Brigaders.